Hello everyone, this is Insta here. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm very excited for this video actually because this video is going to be the very first video I'm completely dedicating to my new upcoming completely self-made fantasy series, A Legend's Tale. I've I've given a few teasers. I've released a teaser trailer not so long ago, only a couple of months ago I think, but I've never really given any actual explanation because I wanted to wait until the time was right, because of course I wanted to be sure that I actually could finish the damn thing instead of giving tons of explanation, tons of teases, tons of hype, if you can call it, and then eventually never even finish it. So I really wanted to be patient, but now I'm almost ready with my first season of this series, so I thought this would be the perfect time to actually give some more detailed info for all those who are interested. My series is called The Legend's Tale, for those who haven't noticed yet. It's a fantasy series. It's completely self-made, and I actually firstly wanted to talk about the plot, but I think that is going to be very tricky because, as with many series, especially fantasy series, there are a lot of different storylines. They all have their own characters, all have their own conflicts, all have their own alliances, but in the end, all these storylines of course come together, but that's in the far distant future I'm talking about now. For this first season, explaining the plot is pretty hard, but let's dive into it. I'll try to explain it as best I can for you guys. The whole story takes place in this world. I actually very consciously didn't give any name to this world. It's a continent, it's a very large continent, completely surrounded by the sea, also called The Distant in my story, but I'll give some more explanation on how the whole world, on what the world looks like, how everything functions, the different kinds of places. I'll dedicate a separate video for that later, but it all takes place in this world, which I haven't given any name because I really wanted the viewers who will watch my series really use their own imagination, their own fantasy, their own creativity. Of course, I've got my characters, I've got my storylines, that all will be fixed, but the world, I really want to be like this fascinating fantasy world that everyone sort of can imagine. Like, what would it look like? What would you call it? You know, how would you think of it? I really want to give the viewers just enough fantasy of their own to kind of, how should I say, to kind of use when listening to my series. That being said, it all takes place in this huge continent, and every part of this continent is inhabited by its own special kinds of people. Every storyline that I have is named. I've given all the storylines names. How many storylines are there, if you might ask? There actually are 8 storylines, which is pretty much, I know. But I've given all the storylines their own names, and these names are actually referred to the characters, or at least one character in that storyline. Which characters am I talking about? Well, let's just say them right here. We have the wizard, the knight, the barbarian, the gladiator, the huntsman, the beast slayer, the pirate, and the war king. 8 completely different people, different kinds of people, you might say, and that's true, and that's also what I was going for. It's really meant to be all different kinds of people, also from all different kinds of historical time periods, you might think, because I actually was thinking, what are the most fascinating times if we look onto our own history? What types of people or types of animals were so grand, were so fascinating, were so intriguing in our own history? And I thought, well, why not bring them all together, because this still is a fantasy series. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. So there we have the storylines. Of course, I'm not going to talk about what is going to happen in all these storylines, you'll just have to figure it out for yourself. Now, a very important detail here. My first season has in total number of 8 episodes. 8 episodes, 8 different storylines. You probably see what I'm getting at. Instead of immediately from the first episodes that I'm going to jump from storyline to storyline, I actually intend to dedicate one episode in my first season to one single storyline. This is pretty different, I think. I don't know if any series has done this ever. If it is, I'm wrong. If it isn't, well, I think it's pretty nice. This is much. These are a lot of characters, these are a lot of different places, a lot of different conflicts, a lot of different alliances that all need to be fleshed out proper. Because I don't want to rush anything. I really want to take my time to set up this world, to set up the characters, to set up everything right. You understand. And I thought the only correct way to do this is actually dedicate a whole episode to a single storyline. That way, a whole episode takes place in mostly one place, but all with the same characters. Like every storyline has its own little setting up episodes. Like it's not that the first episode immediately tries to introduce 5 different storylines, or maybe all of the different storylines, but every storyline only has a scene that lasts about 5 to 10 minutes. That's just way too short, and that's going to be very overwhelming, I think, for the viewers. So I thought it would be a nice touch to dedicate each episode to a single storyline. How many seasons are there in total, you might ask? Well, my original plan was to have 4 seasons, because I thought, that should do the trick. Then I started thinking, and I thought, well, maybe 5 seasons, but then more and more ideas came to my head, and I eventually settled it down to 6 seasons. I really am intending to keep it at 6 seasons as of now, because I think I don't want to, stretch beyond my boundaries. I don't want to, try to cramp too much into one story, because, of course, although there are 8 different storylines, yes, I don't want to put too much in my series that it leads to a point where people don't even know what it's about, where it's just all random different things happening at once, and I don't want that. I really do want to tell a coherent story that you can follow. Of course, in the beginning, all these different storylines, I guess you can imagine, they don't all start the same, they don't all end the same, they're not gonna go the same. It's going to be very different. There's going to be a lot of dynamic storytelling in the beginning, but as seasons progress, as episodes progress, you will see the links between them. You will see how all these storylines are connected. You will see at the end, you're going to see the full picture, and that's my goal, and I really hope that I did that well enough, at least with my first season, because I've only written the first season now. Seasons 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I've got plans, I got outlines, but I don't have a single episode written down yet. But that's how it is. You make one project, you release it, then you go on to making the next one. I think that's how it should always be done. Now, as far as plot goes, I'll try to give a little explanation, because I can imagine that you'd still want to know what a series is going to be about. Well, pretty much, we have our 8 storylines: the Wizard, the Knight, the Barbarian, the Gladiator, the Huntsman, the Beast Slayer, the Pirate, and the War King. These 8 storylines all take place in parts in a certain area of the world that I've created. They all got their own conflicts. I'm not going to talk what the conflicts are, I'm not going to say who the characters are, but I will say this. One way or another, each storyline is connected with each other. Not directly, but more indirectly, if you know what I mean. They all take place in the same world. You'll start to see links, and slowly but surely it's all coming down together, because every storyline has its own conflict, every storyline has its own business, every storyline has its own set of agendas. But somewhere in this world, deep beneath the surface, something is coming. Something that's only referred to in old stories, old legends, old myths, that only the common folk tell each other. A lot of people doubt these stories are true, a lot of people don't believe them, but it's coming, and there are numerous signs that something very bad is coming to the surface, and once it gets to the surface, it pretty much is all, it's pretty much game over. And that's how vaguely I can explain it. I know it's not much, but I really just urge you guys to be patient, and slowly but surely you'll start to see the whole picture unfold slowly. Now, because this is a whole new series, and this whole world, all these characters, all these conflicts, the history even of the world, it's completely new, it's completely unfamiliar to all of you. So it really required me to write a lot more in depth, a lot more detailed. Because if you look back to my Game of Thrones rewrite, especially to my Season 8 rewrite, that was the first ever real writing project that I took completely serious and also posted on YouTube. But the very big advantage I had with doing those rewrites was the fact that the story was known, the characters are known, the conflicts are known, the friendships are known, the places are known, everything was known. So it was very easy to simply write an episode and say, Jon and Daenerys have a conversation about this, and they go to there, and blah 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 blah. And I could write like a whole 20-minute scene in only 3 to 4 sentences, and you would all understand what I'm talking about. With this, it took a lot more detail because you don't know what I'm talking about. Even if I'm talking about a scene that only lasts about 2 minutes, it still requires a lot more detail and a lot more explanation in terms of writing and explaining what's going on. Again, I'll try to give you guys enough space to kind of implement your own imagination, because that's really what I'm going for. But then again, the episodes will take long, and there is a lot to them. But then again, that is what also makes me very proud that I'm doing this and I'm taking this upon myself. Because I am really proud, and I'm very happy, and I'm very hyped to share it with the world. I hope it gets some kind of following, because that really is my goal. I really hope that it has even the slightest amount of success, because it would really, really mean the world to me. As far as plot, again, yes, there isn't that much explanation, but I am intending for each episode, and of course, as usual, I'm going to dedicate 1 episode per video, and of course in every video, before I start telling the episode, and afterwards, of course, I'll do a whole reflection on all the important things that happened. So in that way, the storylines and the characters will become more clear, but as of now, I'm not going to give that much explanation, because again, I don't want to overwhelm you guys. I just really hope that the series is going to kick off. I'm very excited. I'm very happy that I made this. I'm even more happier. I'm even more happy that I can share it with the world, and hopefully we'll get some success. Stay tuned, because I'm going to dedicate a whole other video to give a detailed explanation to the world my story is going to take place. So yeah guys, this was Insta, and see you guys later.